promoter, trainer, coach, professional 43-year-old wrestler, Zach Primetime Reeb, and I'm joined alongside my podcast partner, the 7-foot Big Paul Isadora. Paul, I am tired AF. I know you got to be tired AF.
That's right, man.
Because you came.
Right. I was gonna say, you know how I know that we're old. Besides the haircut, it's like normally. I don't know. Like I just think back in the day, it was like you get home. For me, it was like I get home about 2:30, and a dentist's favorite time, 2:30, and I just went to sleep. Fuck, man, I woke up probably almost 10 o'clock. Just needed the sleep, and I know you had to be up early to get your camp running, and you had a big day, hopefully, based off of radio advertisement and stuff like that. But I just felt like, man, I'm so tired. And then I reached out to you, and you're just like, it's not even dinner time yet. You're like, man, I'm exhausted. Can we knock this podcast out and so I can go to bed? Right? Let me go get some sleep. Let me rest up. Obviously, you've been sick for a while, though.
I've been sick, man, and this one really beat me down because I haven't been sick in a while, and this one got me for about 4 days. Antibiotics, switching off from ibuprofen a couple hours to Tylenol, drinking things with lemon and honey and hibiscus or whatever the fuck else you put in that shit. And then we had to go to Red Bluff, and my God, man, I mean, today what I want to talk about is this beautiful industry that we're in, man. This beautiful industry that we're in, and this humbling experience that you talked about in the first couple episodes, and I didn't really. I just thought it was something you were saying when we started this podcast. I thought it was something you were just saying where you're like, man, I feel really humbled by the feedback. And I know we're going to look back at this soon and laugh at like where some views are down the road, but to know that this is working, to be around these guys and have these guys come up to us on the show and tell us that things have been helping them with the podcast and asking our advice at the show and to put on a really wild but good show and have such a great locker room and just such good, humble people in the locker room, man. And it's not just because it was my show. It was, I mean, I'm just starting to really see a shift in professional wrestling. And I feel like, you know what? I've said some things about modern wrestling, but I feel like the young guys, the new generation of wrestlers that are going to be representing the spots we were in. Hats off. What do you think after your experience this last weekend? Because it was a long one.
Right, exactly. Like, I guess just like you said, man, the humbling thing, right? Like I didn't know the things that we're talking about, if they're going to make a difference or not, because we kind of have this mindset, right? That wrestling has changed, right? We got the new breed of guys. They're going to go out there and they're just going to be spotty, and I'm going to just emulate the match that I just saw on WWE or the one I just saw on AEW. Not going to take criticism, not going to take the feedback that you're giving to them, things like that, and to know that what we're talking about on this podcast is making a difference. I think it was countless people that came up to me and you last night and talking to us about a variety of different things, whether it was slowing the fuck down, whether it was the ability to say no, you know, trying to get yourself in a situation where you can showcase yourself. And then, hearing your story about the squash match, hey, I had no idea what that was. Luckily, I listened to your guys' episode about the squash match, and when someone asked me if I could do that, I was 100% on board. I knew exactly what I needed to do, and I could go out there um, and pull it off. So some of these things are just, like I said, man, I feel like the confidence is my biggest thing, right? Am I in a position where my words hold value, and are people going to listen to what I've got to say? I feel like I didn't get where I wanted to go in the professional wrestling business. So in some senses, you kind of feel like, oh well, it's a failure because you didn't get where you wanted to be. But I think talking to different people, you have to put it in perspective. And did you do something beyond just being a weekend warrior? And the answer is yes on that. Did you have an opportunity to maybe get signed? And the answer to that is yes. So I think putting things in perspective, I think, is a big thing here. So absolutely, after this weekend, things have been put into perspective to a degree, with people coming up to us and talking about, like, hey, I saw this podcast, and it was something that I learned from it. So exciting to get that. And as I'm getting ready for today's podcast, I'm like, this is episode 15, right? And you
Mhm.
think about so many of the podcasting things, like, oh, how do you be successful and things like that, and you always hear just get started, right? And I think for us, it was the big kick in the ass. Like, we talked about it for a long time, but then when we finally got rolling, I just remember you calling me and was like, hey man, I'm all in on this. We're doing this, and this is going to be successful. And kind of going back and forth with me going, hey, I don't know what's going on, we're not getting as many views as I think we should. And you're just like, just be patient, man,
Mhm.
slow the fuck down.
Slow the fuck
So
down.
so I don't know, just looking at it and being episode 15, and knowing that a lot of things that people put online, if you don't follow through, and you only get 6-7 episodes in and you go, shit, I'm giving up. So I'm just glad that we're keeping it rolling, regardless of how tired we are right now. Just trying to get something going. So what about you?
Well, I firmly believe. I mean, I've been doing PCW for going on my 26th consecutive year, and when you look at it at the scheme of things, and you look at, like, BTW, and how long did they run consistently under one promoter with Kirk White before he passed away, and APW ran, you know 25, 26 years under Roland Alexander before he passed away. And then Marcus Mack took over for a while. And then they haven't ran in a couple years. And then you look just underneath that, this whole time, just kind of nipping at the heels of them. Because I know SPW has had different ownership and promoters over the years, a couple of them. But, here we come. Here, just slowly nipping away at the heels of two of the greatest and longest reigning wrestling promotions. And I believe PCW is coming up on surpassing APW, and then with BTW in its sights as the longest reigning consistent promotion ran by me. And it's not something that I'm bragging about. It's just that consistency that I've put in over the years with this. I look at this podcast and I go, man, you gotta be consistent. You gotta be consistent. And that's what's showing already in 2025 with the prospects, and with what we're doing in this talent. It's like last night, and this is going to sound funny, but last night is like, it reminded me a little of WrestleMania 3. And people are going to go, this guy's fucking insane for saying this, but it's like, uh the arsonist and the dudes, the Red Bluff crew, I mean, they're a draw, bro. They're a sold show in that town. I mean, that place was packed, and those guys did that. And and that whole thing between arsonist and Dickie's family, it was like Dickie and arsonist, if it makes any, sense to the boys, they sold the house, you know what I mean? But last night I watched Travis Alexander and Illumide Macho Man Ricky Steamboat this bitch. You know what I mean? It's like you got this really good main event that the product was sold on that, and then here comes these two guys and boom, just lightning in a bottle. And there was so much lightning in a bottle last night. It was like, I mean, I watched Journey Fatu, and I'm just like, I forget how young he is. I forget when I'm giving him advice as he's sitting there with his arms crossed. Yes, sir. I was like, did he just call me sir? Like, is that just because I'm getting old? It's like, man, this guy is good. You know what I mean? And I'm looking up and down the roster, and not just here, but I mean, I'm looking everywhere, man. I'm looking at these young guys that are coming out of SPW and everywhere else. And I know you got 13 guys that just started, and it's like, man, what the fuck is NorCal and this entire scene gonna look like in another year? With
Right.
where wrestling's going, it's going to be crazy, and I'm excited about. I don't seem as excited as I should be because I'm exhausted, and I know you're exhausted because we're loading up these rings, and you're getting in your vehicle and leaving your family and driving maybe 3 or 4 hours one way, and then turning around. And I know we got the bloodshot eyes, and we're trying to stay awake in the dangerous drive. And it's like, why would we be doing that at our age if something that we didn't believe in wasn't happening right in front of our eyes? And that, I mean, to these young guys, man, here I am at 43, and I feel just as fucking motivated and passionate about this thing, maybe even more motivated and passionate, because right here I'm in the best place I've ever been in my life. And that sounds funny. You're like, dude, you're 43 and you're just getting your shit together mentally. Yeah, I'm 43 years of age. I'm gonna come out here and admit it. And my brain mentally is better than it's ever been. And it's a beautiful thing that this is going on. And yes, what I think about it, what I think is, damn it. At the end of the day, I woke up this morning sleeping 2 hours, and I was just like watching the crew run over there. And I just thought, man, completely blessed. That's what I
Absolutely.
think.
So you touched on a couple things, man, and I think um, I mean we've glossed over a couple of these things, but you talked about your main event selling the house last night, right? And you kind of you parallel that you compare it to Hogan Andre, right? That's who sold that house in WrestleMania 3. But I had this conversation with our students yesterday while we were training, right? We need to get out there and we need to canvas our area, right? You can't have just you do this. You can't have just me do this. You have to have everybody, pitch in. And I think a lot of times what it is there's still that stigma about um, being a pro wrestler, being into pro wrestling, things like that. And I remember like when I was growing up, like being harassed almost. You're like, hey, that's fake and all this stuff, right? And me just being so into pro wrestling that I was just like getting my feelings hurt because someone was trying to tell me that what I'm watching and what I love is not what I think it is. And I feel like in some senses you have guys, they're training to be pro wrestlers, but they're not putting the effort into going out there and like you say, man, like take some scotch tape out there, take some posters out there, put them in windows, put those quarter sheets on the countertops, anywhere that someone will let you do that, right? And then go back and check on them. You know, do your rounds, right? Everybody lives in a certain spot where they can canvas their particular area. So you have these guys in Red Bluff last night who, admittedly, you say you just gave them the promotional materials and they did everything, right?
Every
Um, so talk about the importance of that, having the buy-in from these people who are training to be a pro wrestler, and they're also going to go out there and they're going to be the face of this company, and they're going to be like, hey, is it cool if I hang this up on, in your front window? I'm going to leave a stack of these flyers right here. If you could just tell people that, hey, we're having a show in town, grab one of the flyers, right? It's got information on how to buy tickets to your show. It has information on how to become a student at your school. So talk about the importance of those things, when it comes to, we've talked about expanding our territory, and how huge is this for you where you have those guys, and you talked about the importance of that, having those guys in other places where now you can run in Red Bluff rather than in just, around Yuba City.
oh, promotion expanded, sold show. I mean, you don't even need to have the right opponent for those guys. You can just put those guys on the show and the town's going to come out. I felt like the last two we've done there were good and had a lot of people. We did them at the fairgrounds, and this one was at the community center, and we didn't know how it was going to go. I hadn't even been in there to see the setup, and it was a really cool venue, lots of parking. I mean, it was just a beautiful place in a great part of town, and people came out, and these guys just went out. And yeah, what it comes down to, and it's just like in the ring, it's just like having a business partner or anything else. It comes down to trust. A relationship is built off trust. So I have built a relationship with Arsonist and King Cash and Don Stockton, Cordero, Zach Bay, Dennis Emmy, Angel Escobar, all these guys. I've built this relationship and this bond over all these years that I trust them, and they trust me, but I trust them to say, hey, I'm giving you all this. I'm paying for all this. I'm paying for $5,000+ or whatever of everything, and I know you're going to take everything I'm giving you, and you're gonna do it. And I don't worry about that. I don't worry about the ticket sales. I don't worry about the finances. I don't worry about none of that stuff. And I said it earlier, and it's just blessed. It's like, you bring on certain people, and some people come with money up front. Some people you barter. Some people, they have a thing that they do that with the training, and then sometimes you're just like, hey, I'm going to give some guys a shot, and people go, well, that's bad for your business because you're not charging this person. And you go, and I think what a lot of people don't realize is, if you do right by your guys, and this might be bad business ethics, but it's never failed for me. If you do right by these guys are going to, in turn, they're going to make money too, but they're going to make you a lot of money back in return. So when I look at how much PCW is made from now count them, 3 Red Bluff shows, I could have charged all those guys full price up front, and they've already paid that. They've already paid that off and then some. You know what I mean? So you have to find reliable people, man. You have to find reliable people, and this is where I'm just so blessed, because people are like, man, this is amazing what you have up here. And I'm like, I have this up here because I have these hard workers up here, and I can't put them over enough, because it's guys like that that keep what we do alive, man, and it keeps it going. And I know that's what you're going for. I know that's what Ugly's going for. I know that's what a lot of all these promotions are going for, is they want to be in these towns and they want to be drawing good numbers and making money and wrestling in front of new hot crowds and filling up buildings and being out there doing it. Like, I already feel like in 2025, oh man, what are we on? Like, that was I think there's been 2 weekends in 2025 and we've already done 2 shows. And then we got a show this Friday with the other young talent again. And I don't, whenever this fucking airs, but it's like, it's just crazy, man, because I'm now consuming myself. Like, when you stop drinking, when you get into recovery, the way recovery really works is you actually have to replace that thing you did before with something new that mentally up here. That's why I said mentally I'm in the right place. But just so important, man. You got these 13 guys starting out in a rebuilding process. Cherish them. If you're a wrestling company out there right now getting started too, cherish this young talent that you're rebuilding your company off of. Appreciate them and show them the right way. Don't do them wrong, because this is the foundation you are setting for where you're going to go in the next 3 to 5 years. Your thoughts,
Absolutely.
Paul? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about that specifically. We had, we just happened to have the people that showed up yesterday were had traveled the furthest, which is crazy to me, right? I've talked to them about how great of an opportunity it is to have a wrestling school when you want to be a pro wrestler, right? Somewhere that's not too far away, right? Where you don't have to travel 2-3 hours to get there. When you have it 30, 45 minutes away, or right in your backyard, just down the street, things like that, just how much of a blessing that is, and how you need to take advantage of that. So we offer 4 sessions a week, for that direct purpose. So people who are coming from further away have more opportunities to get into the ring and get that training that they desperately desire, and with the goal of getting into the professional wrestling business. So I talked about how that's important, and how they need to cherish that, and come in and be a sponge, and just learn as much as you can. And we talked about just like you're kind of going off on a bit of a tangent on how you're growing your business based off of the people that are training with you, that are coming from a ways away, but they have that desire to not just be in the wrestling business, but help it thrive, and they want to bring it to their community, right?
Mhm.
So for us, it's we had someone years ago from Winnemucca. That's 2 hours east of where we're at here in Reno, and just a huge wrestling fan, and wanted to bring it to their town. So for me at that time, it was just like, well, it needs to be a paid show. And I know the implications of a paid show. You can look at it from 2 different perspectives. You can look at it from that, I've got guaranteed money coming in, I don't have to worry about marketing it. But you can also look at the other side of that, which is, what if I would have went out and marketed it, and let's just say these people pay us $2,500. They want to have a show, they pay us $2,500, and then they end up selling $7,500 worth of tickets. Then you go, man, there's $5,000 that I just missed out on because I wasn't willing to go out there and market this myself. But then when you have those people, that person ended up being still part of our company, and so we've turned that first booking into a yearly 2-day booking. That makes us significantly more money. So I think it's just getting those things. You talked about expanding and how important it is to have those people that you trust out in those kind of outlying areas. So we have these, a couple students that come from, hour and a half away. And so I was talking to them yesterday just about, like, having no idea how your show was going to go. Just, talking to them about, like, yeah, man, I would love to have something out there. See what type of venues you can find, talk to businesses out there. Hey, we're thinking about running wrestling out here. Are these places that we could hang flyers? Could we sell tickets in your place? Could you be a hub for selling tickets? Like, just trying to slowly expand what we're trying to do, and kind of pattern it after the things that you're trying to do as well. So, but I mean, I see, SPW tends to, there's some times that they're running, 4 or 5 times in a month, and sometimes are, free shows. But, we talked before about how exposure, good or bad, it gets your name in someone else's mouth, and it's a potential good thing, right? So I think that that's what we're kind of striving for, trying to get, south of Reno, an hour or 2 hours south of Reno. I just drove through on the way up to your show last night. I drove through Susanville, and we've ran 2 shows up there. So it was just just another subtle reminder, like, hey, man, I got to get my ass back up there, and do some marketing and talk to some people, and find out a building that we can use, and talk to some businesses up there. I mean, you talked about beating the streets, and I think that's a big part of it. Being the head or the owner, the leader of the company. It comes on you to go up there and make those things happen. So, whether it's me grabbing a carload of guys and going up there and just going, hey, let's go around to a bunch of businesses and let's talk to people, and let's build some excitement. And then next thing you know, we're running another show up there. So, that's, I mean, exciting. And you had also touched on how you had another match in your show last night that was kind of, I mean, I don't know what you expected. Travis Alexander versus Illumide, both, 2 in shape, good looking athletic guys. And
Doc thought so
obviously,
too, right?
what's that?
I said Doc Haywood sure thought so too, right?
He certainly did. He had to turn away from the wife so she didn't see how much he was drooling. So yeah. So I mean, so how much of how exciting was that? Like, maybe a match that you weren't expecting it to steal the show like that. Um, how exciting is it for that to happen? Obviously, you had some inkling. You're going to put these 2 guys together for a reason, right? You see something, in Travis, you see something in Illumide, and you go, hey, man, I'll put these 2 guys together. And the potential for something big to happen is there. But how awesome is it for you to see that it actually comes to fruition, and maybe your vision comes out and it actually happens like that?
Oh, it's you hear it in the commentary. That's the really cool part about it, is you actually hear when you're really into something in the actual commentary you're doing. We had you and Doc had the privilege of doing the commentary, and I just remember as I'm watching this, I'm doing the commentary completely different than something else I'm doing, because I start to realize, oh, I'm in control of how the people that are going to be watching this thing view the presentation of it. I'm telling the story, and what a story it was, man. It's like, God, I mean, so I've seen Illumide do that up and over and that moonsault, and then the guy turns around and he hits him with that big drop kick with the back flip out. And it's been a spot I've seen him do for a year, maybe longer now. But last night was a reminder for me, and I want to talk about the reminder that it was. It was the day I had been wrestling 4 or 5 years, and the day I learned how to actually work on the fly. And when he up and over, and I was talking to him about this after the show, and I talked to Travis too. When he did that up and over, and Alexander went underneath, I don't know if he had rockets in his feet or if he had a bouncy ball or springs, but he did the biggest. It was almost like he was on a gymnastics mat getting some boost, and he did this backflip, and it was, you're watching it and you're like, holy shit, it was higher than the poles on the corner. Wow. And Travis didn't just turn around to take the drop kick. So it was just like spot, boom. He stopped and he's eating up the crowd like, yeah, I'm so great. And then Illumide starts mocking him off of him mocking the crowd. And then the crowd reacts and he turns around and hits him with that big drop kick. And there's a completely different reaction. And when I was talking to Illumide, I said, man, did you hear it? Because we sit here in this business, and I want to talk about this a lot one day. We sit here in this business and we always say you got to have an ear for the business. But that moment where the wrestler not just gets it, but they heard it for the first time and really figured it out. And I'm not saying Illumide's never heard nothing in his life, but talking to him last night, he heard it. He heard it at that moment, and he got the different reactions. I was wrestling JJ Perez, and I didn't know what the next thing spot, whatever was, and I threw the line and I missed, and the crowd at Gym Wars was laughing at me, and I look at him like, "What are you laughing at?" And then they start pointing behind me, and I go, "Oh shit, someone's behind me." I turn around, there's Perez. Big Ricky Steamboat arm drag. There were 3 different reactions to the pop from the arm drag. And as I'm kicking my feet around down there, I go, oh, that's it. And that's what I saw in that contest. And sometimes you just got the perfect villain and the perfect hero. And I've seen Illumide wrestle so many times, and I've seen him wrestle bigger guys. But I've seen bigger guys that I believe Travis Alexander is kicking the fucking shit out of you. I believe he's kicking. I believe everything he's doing, it looks like it hurts. And Illumide, for the first time last night, looked like a sympathetic babyface champion that the crowd was getting behind, and he looked like he was hurt for the first time in his career. It looked like he might not get back up. This might be an upset, and I know what the fuck's going on, but now you've got me caught in what you're doing because we talk about it. We talked to AJ. Triple H said it on Netflix. Let's not pretend that they're stupid. This is a performance, right? We know this is a theatrical whatever performance. And if the actors are good in the movie, if the actors are good on the TV screen, you come back and you watch it and you go, okay, I can suspend my belief because this looks good. And that's just what those guys did, man. I mean, I can't put them over enough. I can't put over the show enough, but seeing stuff like that is beautiful, and seeing stuff in that main event was beautiful. Just being back in, just being in these good locker rooms, man, with these good vibes and everything else. But I don't know, man. What about you? Because when you just get gold out of nowhere, because I knew every night when I see some of these young guys go out there, I know there's potential gold, and sometimes they veer off. Like last night, I didn't write any times in, and the show went a little long. But I wanted to see. We're in Red Bluff. It's a new town, new crowd. I kind of wanted to see what the guys could do with it. And I mean, I didn't feel like the show went too long, maybe 2:30, 2:45. And I felt like the guys got the most usage out of it. And I mean, one thing is that Doc Haywood, when he got up from the table and marched to the ring after Rayshawn Prince for making a comment about Lady Haywood, I'm like, no, he's committed to this. You know,
100%. Like, I guess, and it's kind of funny because obviously we're sitting at the table and we're watching the whole situation unfold, and it's like, man, this dude is pissed off that someone's talking about his wife, and she's sitting next to him, so he has to defend her honor, right? You can't let somebody talk about your wife in front of you, so he had to go out there and take a stand. So,
he's so committed
uh,
to it. Like,
right,
if we're gonna give these young guys any advice, I mean, the guy was committed. I saw him getting up, and I was thinking, like, looking at you at commentary, and I was like, sit down.
right,
No, I mean, he committed through the fans, the sea of
right,
fans, and he got up there, and he Journey and Anthony Marcus came back through the curtain, and he kind of looked at him like, "Oh, I'm in their way," but he said, "Fuck it." He just
right.
kept going around the ring like it looked like he was Anthony Marcus and Journey's manager for a second. He snatched himself up a microphone, and now you got Rayshawn battling Haywood with fucking Anthony Marcus rattling stuff at them and cussing at me. And I mean, I think I looked at you at that point and said, I don't know what's going on right now.
Right.
And I loved every second of not knowing what's going on right now. And I think that God dang it, there's that word again. I think um, when we look at situations like that, sometimes it's good not to know what's going on. And as the guy who's running the show, having that headset on with that microphone sitting next to my podcast partner is the best time to not know what's going on, because we get to express that, like we get to express things right here. And yeah,
That's right.
as you can tell, I'm tired as shit, but man, it was all worth it, man. I like completely fell in love with pro wrestling again this
Right.
weekend.
I definitely loved I felt like every time I went backstage, a new person was asking me, what did I think of their match? Right. So I don't know how long it's been since that situation has happened. We talk about how you have a voice in the locker room, or you have you in the locker room, me in the locker room. Adam was at our last show. When you have Rick, or you have these guys that have been around the block and done a lot of things and have a lot of knowledge, and you have so many guys that don't just go up and pick their brain, sit next to them, annoy them for a little bit, right? Ask them wrestling questions. Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm thinking about doing this tonight. What do you think? Like, just I just I think back in the day when that was the thing, right? We're looking out the curtain and seeing what other guys are doing, and you're scrapping stuff because you're like, oh, I was going to do something similar to that, but let's take that out. Let's avoid doing something like that. And it gets me to the conversation I had when we first walked in about how you have, and I had this conversation with our students yesterday. It was just how you go to a wrestling school and you learn a lot of the same stuff, right? But when you're going to modify um, something that you're going to do, you can't do that against someone else who knows that same counter or whatever. And then you especially can't do it in the same match, right? So um, I was just excited about the feedback, right? These guys asking different questions and saying like, "Hey, this is something that I learned from the podcast," or Illumide was talking about that match last night, and I was like, "Man, this is the first time I feel like I've seen you in jeopardy," right? Uh, it's one of my biggest pet peeves when someone sends me a match um, and my feedback is, I never thought you were in jeopardy. I didn't think that this guy had you on the ropes. I didn't think he had an opportunity to beat you, right? So to see that, and then his feedback to me was, well, I remembered what you told me when I was wrestling Frost at my show. And I said just something along the lines of, you know, you need to have yourself in danger where well, where people think that he's going to beat you, right? Otherwise, who cares, right? If there's not an opportunity for the fans to get behind you and feel like their cheers are giving you that energy or giving you that burst of adrenaline where you're able to fight back. Now they think they're making a difference, and that causes them to make more noise because they think if I make noise, my guy is going to fight back, and maybe he'll have an opportunity to win. So just those little things, and it goes back to me thinking, does what I have to say hold any weight, right? So that was one of those things for me that was like, something that I said to someone was taken seriously, taken to heart. It was something that they put some thought into, like, hey, this is something I need to incorporate that maybe I'm not doing right now. So, so I think that was pretty exciting to see that. But just how much thirst there was last night for people going, hey, what'd you think? What can I do better? Your tag team champs, right? Immediately come up to me, and I almost felt like it was almost like, hey man, I appreciate you coming to this show in my town. That's the kind of the feeling that I got. It wasn't like, hey, just thanks for coming to our show. It was almost like, man, I appreciate you coming to my town to watch our show in front of my people. Like it almost felt like it was a little more gravity involved. But then there was still the, hey, what'd you think? And I think the Adam podcast is going to come out pretty soon. And we talked about having the two open ropes in a tag match and how important that is. And he's just like, man, I didn't even think about that. And I was just talking about how you can do very subtle, make that change. And we talked about it while we were at the desk. The ring positioning and things like that. So I don't know, just knowing that guys are listening and paying attention and searching and seeking knowledge and wanting to get better. I feel like our wrestling scene is in such a better place. And you had just mentioned when we were talking before this, like you feel like it's happened over just the last 4 or 5 weeks, and it just happens to coincide with roughly when we started doing this podcast and how much good feedback we've got from people saying, hey, I listened to this and man, I'm listening to every episode. And so just going back to what you started with how humbling an experience this whole thing has been, with what's, that we feel like we're making a difference, right? It's not like the people that you coach are the only people that get to hear what you're saying on this podcast, and vice versa for me. It's not like just the people that I'm around get to hear this information. It's everybody gets to hear this information, and that's what's making the biggest difference right now.
100%, man. The fact that you get to help people in situations, you get to show them, hey, give me more out of this promo, and you get to experience that with these different talents live, these younger kids live. The crazy thing was, as I was Rick was watching prospects, right? And this is something that I didn't even think of until Rick said it. And Rick's daughter, I think Nikki's like anywhere from like 14 to 16 or something like that. She's watching the videos of the premiere of Prospects, and she looks at her dad and goes, "Dad, these are all like young teenage boys." She's like, "They're not old like you and Zach." And we're like, "Thanks, thanks, asshole." But it's a point, like, that right there, prospects with all this young talent ranging from the age of 16 to like 21 appeals to a completely younger female audience that we don't draw as professional wrestling because it's older. You know what I mean? So that was something that Rick pointed out to me this week, and I was like, yeah, no, that's a very fair point right there. And I just look at it, and it's been a good weekend, man. And you know it's a good weekend when you're just completely exhausted and you got nothing left, but you get through it all. It's like, you know, it's a good weekend when everything you're like, okay, I'm going to get 3 hours of sleep, maybe. All right, we're going to be there at 10. Okay, maybe we'll be done by 1. Oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. Shit, we still got to unload the ring. I still got to do a podcast. But wait, the guy we were supposed to do the podcast with has canceled. We're still going to do a podcast anyways. Man, I love this shit. You know what I mean? So you just go through with it, man, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for February 15th coming up there. I'm excited to, let these guys get a month or so in, and then I'll be on my way up to Reno to see what you guys are working with. And I mean, I'm just excited about everything, man. I look at it and say, so when we talk about those situations with the tag rope, I don't know if you noticed, but when I was on commentary with you and you said that, I had a response for that. I said, well, that's the the unorthodox and the benefit of PCW not using the tag ropes that you hold on to is that you can actually stand on either side of the pole and shorten the distance of how many ropes you can run off of. And is there any truth to that? Absolutely no truth at all. Just needed to give you a response. So that's what popped into my head, and I thought it actually made a little bit of sense. But I think it's
It
time
did,
to
yeah,
I think it's time to put some fucking tag ropes. The easiest thing to do is the one thing we forget. You know what I mean?
sure. Well, you know what? I just think about all the adversity that you went through last week, being sick, getting to the show. Um, you know, the top rope for some reason just not cooperating, and then you had to go. Dang it! I have to get in there. I didn't want to get in this ring today, but I got to go here and I got to fix this stuff and make sure it's all good to go. And so I don't know. I thought that was funny. Like you took it all in stride, and that's exactly what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say something along the lines of, it's been a long week, completely exhausted, but damn it, I can't wait to do it again next week. Like because that's what
Oh,
I'm thinking. Like you know as I'm driving to your show yesterday, I'm thinking, all right, so 3.5 hours to get there. I'm going to be there for 5.5, 6 hours. 3.5 hours to get home, right? I'm like, man, I'm not going to sleep much. Uh, shit to do today. And then I'm like, back to work tomorrow. But guess what, man? 6 o'clock tomorrow, we get to train again. We get to get back in that wrestling ring. And, that's kind of like, I think it's funny because you're like, oh man, just get through this work day because I get to look forward to wrestling training afterwards. That's that's the reward for going to work. So, um,
that's
but just I don't know, man. It's getting exciting with all the new stuff going on. I love the concept for prospects, and I love you have other schools and promoters, giving you suggestions of people who you should use. And I love to hear that, there's people there wanting to see what's going on, wanting to help, wanting to be involved. I think all of those things are the things that we're most excited about. And the reason that we, do what we do as far as this podcast and running shows and putting as much effort into it as we do, because it's just this passion that we have, that we just want to we want to create a better product. We just want to keep improving on what's going on, and hopefully that's exactly what's going on with trying to make an impact.
Yeah, Sin said it last night on the way home. Is you know he wanted to get dropped off at the house, and I'm like, oh, you're gonna make me drive 40 minutes more by myself with this ring fucking this truck and this trailer, and I'm sitting there like this, and I'm like, and it wasn't a work, by the way, but I'm like, what's that up there? And he looks at me and he goes, yeah. You see something, right? And I go, yep. And he goes, there's nothing. He's like, you're getting that. Okay. He's like, I'll go the rest of the way with you. And he did. And we finished out the weekend together, man. And Manny Roa just took him home after class. And I mean, I was sitting in the car with him and the truck with him on the way home, and he was just like, you know what, man? He's like, if my legacy is doing these promos in the back with the guys, if my legacy is just helping Big Shaq or whoever at the training school, I mean, if that's my legacy, is helping these guys get to that next level, get to WWE, get to AEW, he said, I'm cool with that. And I said, you know what? If that's the goal, that's the legacy, not to train these guys so that these guys are like, oh, he popped up and had a couple indie matches over here, everything's all good in the hood. No, we have the ability, we have the knowledge, and we have the wherewithal that we can guide anybody who has the drive to go anywhere they want. That's what I loved about my coach Skits, was when we walked in there uh, back in the day, he asked us, he said, where do you want to go? What's your goal? You want to go to Japan? Do you want to compete here? Do you want to do local? And you would tell him what you wanted to do. And if your sights were high, oh, that motherfucker made you work hard. You know what I mean? If your sights were low, he was just like, oh, hey, you did a handspring bump. Cool, man. Good job. So we have this, we have the ability and the knowledge, like I said, to take anybody with drive and get them anywhere they want to go. So that's what our goal should be. So to be sitting in a car with one of my best buddies on the way home after a long weekend, and have him tell me that in the car, and just how excited to see him on Sundays and to see him at the shows. And you saw me, I was like, hey man, I did promos at prospects. Hey, you go handle these promos. Here's the lottery balls. You know what's going on, right? He's like, yeah. And you saw how I stayed on him, like, get up, go, get up, go. Cause it's like, you know, he can do that. There's so much talent in the locker room that doesn't just need to be out at the ring doing stuff. They hold so much important value backstage and helping to run the show. It doesn't just have to be me running the show. There's other people that can do it too. Your thoughts on that before, because we're already there, man, and we didn't even really have.
Had
We did
nothing
like
to
a
talk
show
about, right?
recap.
Right? Yeah, shit, man. Yeah, man, I definitely appreciate that. Like, so for our shows, I feel like we have it all kind of dialed in, right? You have the certain people that are kind of in charge of certain things. And I heard you talking last night about, hey, who knows how to organize the trailer, right? When we're breaking the ring down. So, and I think that all of those little things, they just sometimes they go unnoticed. You know, but when that person isn't there, or those people aren't there, you're just like, dang it, man. Like, so now I got to do this myself, right? You go from when you first start, you got to do everything on your own. Then you have from some people that kind of fill in, and then you start going, okay, here, I'm going to delegate this task. I'll delegate this task and take a little bit off of your own plate. But then when it gets to that point where you're like, oh shit, I got to do this again myself. It's just that thing. So I'm glad that we're surrounded by guys, that just want to help things succeed, right? Whether it's hanging those flyers, whether it's getting those posters, things on the counters, whether it's going to a business and saying, hey, we're looking for sponsors, setting up the ring, setting up the entranceway, getting music set up, production. I feel like this is an episode all. Now that I'm talking, I feel like this is another episode all on its own. All of the little tasks that are necessary to run a wrestling promotion, but just having all of those guys that understand, that their contributions are a part of the show, and we can't do things without everybody's help. I think is important, and obviously you always take care of your guys that are doing those things. Running a snack bar. People sometimes lose track of that, taking tickets at the door. And if you don't have people that are willing to do those things and work in security, and I'm everything's popping into my head right now. All these little jobs that we have people do that maybe people don't realize what goes into putting a wrestling show on. So I think that's an episode of its own, but definitely appreciate those people that are around you, and all the help that you get doing the things that take some tasks off of your plate, for sure.
Well, I definitely, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I got this new little saying, man. I got this new little saying to my team. I say, this team, this year, this time. You know what I mean? This is the time right now. So this team this year, this time, this is what we're doing. Like, I believe that. I believe the team I have right now. And I've had so many different teams over the years. And, I think I've had some really great teams in the past too. I just don't think I was mature enough. I don't think I was mentally as clear-headed as I am now. So, and that comes with, some people are 40, 43 years of age, man. Like, God, my grandpa was 80 and still acted like a kid. You know what I mean? And I was like, great grandma, wait, is grandpa ever going to grow up and act like an adult? And she said, no, he's not. That's how you are. Like, how you are is how you are. So how my personality is, I be 70 years old and I'm still going to be talking about stupid shit. I was talking to Rick about it one day. I'm like, dude, we're going to be sitting out on a porch in a wheelchair saying all this same stupid shit to each other. And one time me and Rick were talking and I looked at my dad and I said, hey, Dad, did you and your friends talk to each other like me and Rick do? And my dad goes, no, son, can't say as we did. Like, yeah, we're not over here talking about that sick shit you're talking about. We were talking about jacking the engine out of the truck and changing the oil and putting some new tires with some rims on it, plowing a field. And we're over here just saying some stupid. Here we are. What a week.
What a week,
The excitement level of two tired guys, man. But
definitely the excitement is there. The energy is not, for sure. But man, we got 1 minute left. We're gonna be starting, since we're now in the double digits of episodes. We're able to put the link right here for one episode, a link right here for one. Then you got one of those up somewhere up there, so that people can subscribe. Hopefully we got this new sponsor on board. I don't want to start talking about it until I actually test the product. Well, I don't want to be one of those guys.
Don't talk about it. Don't be about it.
That's right, buddy. So,
man, close us out, man.
Close us all the way out. And I'll just do this.
Send us some matches, man.
Oh, send us some matches, man.
Jesus, can we get some matches over here? I'm gonna go order me a pizza because I haven't eaten right in 3 days because I've been sick. Send us some matches over here. I'm Zach Primetime Ring. And that's a 7-footer, Paul Dora. And we are going over.